Let me set the stage for you, because Low by Rick Remender and Greg Tocchini takes place under the sea. You see, humanity has fled from the above-ground world because of something called nuclear fallout. Apparently it's pretty bad. So, like little cowards, they go down under the sea with Ariel and everybody else. Their hope is to wait for a probe to come back from space that will tell them of a new planet they can all flee to, like bigger cowards. The bad news is, as there must be bad news for this to be an interesting story, not just a bunch of people sitting in a dome, their dome is running out of oxygen and they have like months to live, so everything's going poorly. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about, now that you sort of have the scenario set up, the art. Because Tocchini, it's beautiful. I honestly don't really have the vocabulary to describe it, but it is, I will try my best. Everything is, first of all, very flowing. There's a very aquatic look to this, like fish, like fins and stuff. It's occasionally, when you're initially reading it and getting into this book, a little hard to decipher visually what to pay attention to, but as you further read this book, you start to pick up on what he's going for, and it starts to make sense. One of the big features you're going to know about this book is it's very red, incredibly red book, and if you think about it, it has two effects. One, it's a very alien-looking world, and that has to do a lot with the second thing. If you look around me here, red's not really a color. Red is not usually a color you see in nature, short of, you know, a bleeding thing. So it creates this atmosphere of just sort of dread and death and impending doom. But it's not all that, it's also just foreign and gorgeous, like an alien world. There's this very John Carter of Mars sort of feeling to this entire world that I absolutely adore. The story itself focuses on the Kane family. They are these helmsmen who have inherited things, the ability to pilot these sort of robot-looking things. The story focuses on them because they're sort of some of the last saviors of this world, capable of going and hunting for food, and the mother, Stell, is the one who is watching the skies for a probe to return, and everybody pretty much has given up hope, except for her. And the story continues as pretty much Remender puts her through hell. And her journey to get back to the surface and to save the world. And it's really wonderfully thought out. There's a lot of intelligent themes. There's early on, they actually open in the first 3 issues with sex scenes, oddly enough. I don't know if oddly enough, but it's actually a little more than just shock and getting your attention, because as you progress through the story, you realize it opens up with a very intimate scene between her and her husband, and then degrades by the 3rd issue to sort of an orgy scene of debauchery and within the Senate, who doesn't care anymore. And that also brings into the sort of recurring theme of this Roman parallel, this Roman-Greek. It's like the collapse of the Roman Empire is essentially what we're seeing in this book, and there's a lot of parallels that are brought up within the story about that, where sometimes more blatantly than others, but you see society just sort of falling apart and not knowing what to do because they're just sort of screwed. This is a book that is incredibly refined, and really that's what I look for when I'm reading a book, and it's sort of thrown this into one of my favorite ongoing stories right now because of just all the intent and little things put into it, like the focus on eyes, and the focus on sex, and the focus on color, and the recurring theme of hope. But what's really hit me hard with this book is the recurring theme of hope. As Remender, in a letter section early on, discusses that he is sort of a pessimist at heart, and he's only written pessimistic characters. This was his chance to write an optimist. And I absolutely love Stell as a character because, honestly, she reminds me of the woman that I'm with, who is also an eternal optimist, even to the detriment of everybody else. And the scenes where everybody is just simultaneously annoyed with this woman, like she is just continually naive, but still happy that she's around and can be so optimistic when the world is ending around her. This is a character-driven book that works really well, and it's a slow burn. And I'm really glad I read it all at once, because I think I may have not given it the chance I did because I knew I could just read this full arc. It is, if you took a look at the first 1 or 2 issues and didn't really stick with it, go back, because it's worth it. It pays off. The payoff is amazing. There's a little epilogue at the end that's beautiful. And the truth is, this is a book that just connected with me a little personally. And for that, it's almost frustrating, because this is a book that no matter what I say to somebody else, I realize is never going to quite impact other people the same way it impacts me. And that's always sort of a weird thing, where I realize that just objectively this is a great book. But for me, it's touched me just a little more to push it even over that edge, where it's just maybe my favorite book going right now. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't like lists. But I absolutely love it, and I love you, Tanya, and this book reminds me of you. So thanks, Remender, and thanks, Tocchini, for putting out something so beautiful that has just brightened my day.